YouTube is the Moorish trucker demonstrating love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Here, there, and everywhere. You draw. Hey, man, I just watched the dumbest argument between two truckers. Religion, right? So it really started at the fuel island, right? So, this Indian trucker, he had his head wrap on. So this other trucker, where you wear that, man? What that mean? Da 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 da. He tried to explain to him that it was religion. It was his religion, Krishna or something like that. I'm drawing. That's what he was trying to convey to him. And this trucker just never heard of her. You need to get Jesus and just try to force feed his ideologies down my man's throat, right? So it just so happened, which is crazy. I tell y'all, man, it's anytime I see empty truck spots, man, after 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, it is always crazy to me, right? We end up being across from one another. No, they were across from one another. I was sitting next to the white dude. The Indian dude was directly like they trucks were literally facing each other. So they continued to have this conversation. And my thing is, I don't engage in other people's demonstrations, but it, for me, people forget the small things. The small things are highly the most important things, right? Like, really, those from India, those who demonstrate Buddha, Confucius, they don't really have a lot of negative beef when it comes to religion. But Jews, Christians, Muslims, listen, man, they go at it, right? And everybody think that their God is the God, right? But here's the funny thing. It's the small things one be forgetting. Like Christians, Muslims, and Jews, right? They all believe in a God of Abraham, but yet they still believe that their God is different from one another, right? And then when you look, you got different sets of Jews, you know, you got different sets of Christians, different sets of those who demonstrate Islam, right? Not even they can agree on what's going on, right? So for me, I just, I just had it on me to make this video, man, to get people to think about the small thing. The other small thing people miss, which is why, as Moorish Americans, we demonstrate love, truth, peace, freedom. And when those principles are violated, justice then must take its course, because I'm going to demonstrate love, truth, peace, and freedom to you, because those are the things I require, especially within the bands of society. And people see, and when those principles are violated, there's justice. Justice has been around since the dawn of time. You draw for a violation of the law. And these are what we need. People, freedom, it's like music, man. Now, yeah, music, right? I can't stand classical music, right? But I'm not going to offend, disrespect, or attack those who do like it. Why? Because of the small things. We were all given free will. Free will. And then when you talk about salvation, salvation is for you and you alone. It's not upon you to enforce God's law upon others. It's for, ones pick religion based on free will out of what guidelines they see what can make them a better person. And they hang with like-minded people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a crazy scenario, but people don't understand that you have free will. You have a choice to do as you please, right? You know what I'm saying? And if one don't like it, they have to go find like-minded people. They can't just force you to stop what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Can't try to convert you to what they doing. You just got to find like-minded people, man. So, for me, it's like people don't understand that they fans are the same thing. You draw? Like football, for instance, right? I'm a Bears fan. You might be a Packers fan, right? We might rib each other and talk wild, say the worst about each other's teams. But win, lose, or draw, at the end of the game, we still friends. Why? Because we're a fan of the same game. If the Bulls, if the Bears are not playing today, and the Packers are not playing today, what we gonna do? Not watch football at all? No, we gonna watch and we gonna pick the next best team based on who playing each other. We gonna watch football all day because we're a fan of the same thing. Same thing in life, man. Just because ones have different choices in what they like, you still part of the same thing, man. You feel joy, you feel love, you feel pain, you cry, you laugh, you draw. All these things connect us, just in different ways. You know what I mean? Small things amount to big things, but, you know, we like to go around our elbow to get to our thumbs. And then we expect other people to follow suit based on what we would do. You draw? I don't demonstrate love to people, truth to people, peace to people, freedom to people based on the fact that I need or want them. I would appreciate if they would demonstrate it back, but even if they don't demonstrate it back, that doesn't faze me. I've done my part. You draw? Now, they attempt or threaten bodily harm, then yeah, you know, we're going to drop the world on them. You know, justice going to take its course. But outside of that, I really don't see a reason for us to go. You know, you ever see people who are friends, they get into one argument and all of a sudden they put out each other's business. You know, they just out to destroy each other. In my opinion, they were never friends to begin with. I'm gonna tell you a story, man. Like Christmas, right? One year, man, my old man didn't have enough money to buy me anything for Christmas. Years later, we had the conversation, and he was just like, the little money he had, he couldn't find nothing that would fit the mold, because every Christmas I had it all. I done had bikes, big wheels, G.I. Joes, Voltrons, Transformers. I done had it all. Tonka toys back then when the power rides were big. Now they got them in Escalades and Ferraris, but back then in the 80s, they were just coming out, so they were all the rage. None of that shit brings back nostalgia for me. The 1 year my old man didn't have money. I remember The Golden Child. I was 10 years old, 1986. This is when it happened. It came out sometime in December or November. I don't remember. But I remember the commercials, and I kept telling my daddy I wanted to see it. And like I say, this Christmas, he was just fucked up. Money wasn't right. He had to pay bills. Damn Christmas, you know what I mean? But it made him feel bad that he couldn't provide me with a bulk of toys like I'm used to. So, Chicago, you had Treasure Chest, which was downtown, and it was an arcade. Arcades were big back then, you know what I'm saying? And boy, my old man used to keep a pocket full of change. Give me 50 cents. Give me 50 cents, Daddy. Give me 50 cents, Daddy. Give me 50 cents. He used to keep pickle jars full of change. You know what I'm saying? But arcades were real big back then. You know, I probably 50 cent at that man to death. Didn't have a piece of mind to ask for $1 or $5 at one time, but he took me to Treasure Chest first, which was right across the street from the Dan Ryan Woods, the only theater in Chicago that played double features. So until the movie started, we played arcades, and then we went across the street. I'll never forget, Doom and The Golden Child both played. To this day, that's the only Christmas that holds reverence for me. Because if I see Doom on one of these channels or something, or if I see The Golden, that shit brings back nostalgia. I watch it. It was a lot of good movies back then, but those movies bring back that good, warm feeling you draw. And it was the smallest and the only thing my man could do. You know, movies back then were only $5-6 or something, a person. And for kids, they was even cheaper. You know what I mean? And like I say, this theater showed double features. So we down there for like 4 hours and some change, just watching movies, eating popcorn and things, And for me now as an adult, that's the only thing that brings back nostalgia for me. The one time that he couldn't, give me 100 million different presents. The only thing he could do was take me to the arcade on Christmas Day and to the movie theater. And he didn't feel good about that, but it made me happy, so he was cool with it. But in years later, he deceased now, but in years later, I had to tell him, like, man, that's the only Christmas I remember. The only Christmas that gives me a good feeling, man. Because me and you hung out, we watched Dune and the Golden Child, we was at the arcade. Because Treasure Chest, back then, the corner stores had arcades. You know what I'm saying? Chuck E. Cheese back then. What was the other one? With the big monkey. Damn, I can't think of the name right now. But you had small arcades, but Treasure Chest was like the biggest one in the city at that time, Chicago. So it's the small things, man, that leave an impact, and people don't understand that concept. Everybody think they got to do shit in a big way. Those things get bypassed and overlapped, man. People forget those things. They come and go. You can do 100 things for somebody, but tell them no one time and watch how that unfold. You the worst motherfucker ever. You know what I mean? You ain't never did shit for them. So, I just want to put that out there, to be mindful for ones who have a difference in religion or difference in cultural, whatever it may be, man. Just remember to demonstrate freedom for ones to be able to do what they choose to do. If that ain't your bag of chips, keep your hand out of it. You don't have to be disrespectful. You don't have to be offensive. You don't have to be overbearing with trying to force feed your ideologies down their throat, man. Be humble. Because we in a society, and the only way to enjoy this society is dependent on the help of others. Just think about it. Everything you see around you is someone else's thought. Everything. Steering wheel, truck, fan, watch, cell phone, shoes, shirts, socks, CDs, whatever you can, wallpaper, paint, is someone else's thought. And you can only enjoy these things within the bands of society. Because one shared their thoughts with you. And for your enjoyment. And some things that are invented that you may not like, may not care for, but they exist because someone else does, man. So my thing is, demonstrate love, truth, peace, but be mindful of freedom. Freedom ain't just being able to do what you want to do. Freedom is also allowing other people to be who they are, good, bad, or indifferent. You know what I mean? You always have a sore spot. You want to help somebody, or you want to bring one over to the side in which you think is right. But here's the thing about religion. If there is a day of judgment, right? I believe it will be. But just, for sake, we're going to say if. Keep the confusion down. You're going to be there by yourself. You're not going to be able to say such and such brought me to this, or such and such taught me this. You're going to be responsible for your own actions. Your salvation is for you and you only, to keep you in line and bearable here on this plane to manifest, man. This thing's made of flesh, man. Because, I hear people talk about heaven and hell. Well, we have an idea as Moorish Americans that, you create your own heaven and your own hell. Don't even know it. Like, religion is not based on what's going to happen to you in the afterlife. It's based on rules that govern you right here. Because guess what? Once tomorrow paved with gold and bright lights, those things are going to mean nothing to the spirit. These are only things that are attainable and joyful to the flesh. On that other ether plane, gold, silver, money, fame, prosperity, none of that matters, because it's a whole different level. Which gives you an idea on how man can only think in the finite, in the infinite, in the finite. He can't think in the infinite. He can only think in the finite, because that's above his thinking. Like, you can only imagine what you've already experienced. You can't imagine something that you've never really experienced or bear witness to. Is just like people who fantasize about being rich. It's only because they've able to look and see somebody else who's rich. So, my thing is, man, let people be, man. Let them enjoy life and what matter seems good to them. Because the Creator gave all of us a certain level of understanding. In which measure seemed good to Him, not to you. You draw? I watch people all the time try to speak for God. Craziest thing in the world, but they forget the small things. That one has free will. That free will was given to him by the God in which you praise and the God in which you give honors to. You draw? So let them be. You draw? And just make sure that you stay within the line, because I watch ones go over the line. I'm sure your God, by whichever name you call him, wouldn't agree with how you treating people right now. In his name. Especially when you talk about Christians, Muslims, and Jews, because they all believe in the God of Abraham. I, to this day, don't understand that misunderstanding. You draw? But you have to find rules that you live according to and standards that you hold to. That's what makes society what it is. And guess what? Every religion demonstrates the same peace and goodwill. They demonstrate the exact same way on how you're supposed to treat thy neighbor, as well as thy enemy. You draw? So, I just wanted to make that video, man. I just thought it was real hilarious because, one was getting upset and ready to fight. Good thing they got security out here. You know what I'm saying? Because it just looked like it was getting out of control when it was a conversation about something that's supposed to be joyous and monumental. You draw? See how one can take something. They say a fool can take something positive and make it negative, and a wise man can take something negative and make positive. You draw? So, man, let's try to treat each other better, man. Let's try to, before you go out here and try to make somebody else right, make sure you're right. Don't pull nobody else's weeds when your grass growing all wild. You draw? Like, none of us are perfect. It's the beautiful thing about being human. I tell people all the time is I'm guaranteed to make mistakes. So, hey, man, don't hold that against me, But bring it to my attention so I can make a speedy reparation. You draw? So, yeah, man. Peace and love.